Good evening, everyone. IndiHoops. Let's go live on Instagram as well. You know the deal. If you were on the show last week, here we go. Good evening. We're live on YouTube and Instagram now. So here's the format of the show. Everything in threes, Indie World 3. We've got live questions. We got live questions. We've got tournaments and promotions for events that are coming up. Talk about AAU basketball and things that are coming up. And then number 3, I think that I had a lot of fun, and I think people got a lot out of. I was reading some great things out of a couple books that I like and applying them on how people, players, clubs, and basketball players and coaches can get better, but from the mental side of the game. So I think that's something that is lacking. And I really think that you can get a lot more out of what you're doing by working a lot smarter and being mentally tougher and just learning some really cool little details. Every time you go to an event or something, you watch something like this, you watch something on YouTube. It doesn't really matter if all of it sucks or whatever it happens. All you are looking for, this is what I was taught, it was awesome. You're looking for one little detail that could change your life. And I know that for a fact that, you learn something that's seemingly pretty small, but it changes your life, and it's just one little detail. And I've learned that in basketball. I learned that when I'm coaching and things like that. So the first thing that we will do is start off. So if at any time, if anyone has a question, I will address that. That's the most important thing. What's going on? Ricky Logan. And then I'm going to talk about some promos. Okay, so we're almost here. Let's talk about Indie World 3 first. Indie World 3 finals for the class of 2022. We've got a new format, new city, and we've got, and as I always need to do right here, any 8th grader that comes on the call, 8th graders 2022, go to indielockers.com and register your profile. But it's not just for players, also scouts and coaches. You need to go there now and register as a scout so you can review players. Rankings come out every Wednesday. We have a algorithm where we take the aggregate. It's pretty complex, and we update every Wednesday based on game film and highlights and things like that and your play. So I just got that pin there. So the final, the Indie World 3 final is in Dallas, June 28th through July 1st. 64 teams, just like March Madness, one championship, one champion. Ricky Logan says, all I have to do is put my birth certificate in and your picture. Okay. What I recommend is go do that right now. Don't procrastinate it. So put that in, and then if you have any other questions, let me know. And then just come right back on. So sorry I had to decline that call. So let's talk about the regional finals, March 24th and 25th. This weekend here in San Diego, my hometown, is the West Regional Final. The schedule will be out tomorrow, and I'm excited about that. The South Regional Final is in Atlanta, May 11th through 13th. Okay, those are the regional finals. The final is June 28th through July 1st in Dallas and at Drive Nation Sports facility next to the airport, DFW. Let me know if you have any questions on that. We have an East qualifier for those of you that are in the East, May 12th through the 13th. That's the Zero Gravity DC review. So that's in DC. We were right to the bracket. Right to the bracket was super wrong. So official.isaxx. Rephrase that, please. Okay. Then we've got we've got April 7th to the 8th, the Battle of the Best. That is a top middle school event. That is at Tribe Nation Sports Complex in Dallas. We've got the Battle in Seattle, July 5th through the 7th. And that's what we have so far for the Indy World Championship. If you go to IndiLockers.com, you can see all the events. You can see the rankings. I have it pinned there for you. Okay, if anybody has any questions at any time, let me know. Basketball related. Okay, let me just shout out some. Let's talk some more. Let's talk questions. Okay, the bracket that you did was super wrong. We were right, and I told you that Clemson was going to be Auburn. Yeah, you were right. Let's talk March Madness for a little bit. Clemson looked really good. Kentucky is looking good. Michigan, how about that shot by Jordan Poole? I don't know why the inbounder was not being guarded. If you look at that play, see, can you switch it? Really, really clean, deep outlet pass. 3 seconds left. If you guard the inbound and you guard everybody, I think that you catch you don't get as deep of an outlet, and that was really critical. So I don't get that one. Always guard the inbound, I think. Christian Laettner, Grant Hill's pass. Brian, hit me when you can. This is John. It's important. Okay. Yep. I'm going to be there March 24th, 25th. Okay, so so here's the deal. So we've got a couple more events to promote, but who do you guys have? Who do you think is going to win the whole thing? Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina is out. UMBC, 16-1, first time. Nova. So we got April 7th and the 8th, the Battle of the West. That's an event here, a new event for 15, 16U, and 17U. We've got the Drew Joyce Classic, April 20th through the 22nd in Nashville, Tennessee. April 27th through the 29th, Akron, Ohio. Live period events, grades 2nd through 11th. It says to put your club teams on there, but I put DBC and it didn't pop up. So Ricky, are you on District Defensive Basketball Club? We'll make sure to add that. So don't worry, I'll do that here soon. And we've got the Memorial Day Threat Hoops Memorial Day Tournament in May 25th. That's in Missouri, Cape Girardeau. We've got the Atlantic Hoop Classic, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. That is our Canadian qualifier. We've got the West Coast Elite Basketball Unsigned Senior JUCO event, April 27th in the Bay. The West Coast Elite Spring Player Invitational, April 20. That's a live period, so that's that's in Garden Grove, California. The IndiHoops Tip-Off Classic. The IndiHoops Tip-Off Classic, April 13th to the 15th in Atlanta. The San Diego Summer Invitational, June 22nd to the 24th. The ATX Summer Showcase in Austin, Texas, June 16th. Yeah, just hey man, just hit me up too. Just text me. Okay, so let's get back to it. So we got some questions here about Indy Lockers. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, let's read some mental. Let's go back into the third part of the show. Is we're going to download some key details and mental training to hopefully help you out as players on here. This is a book called Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. I said this last week. I'm pulling information from the best the best of the best thinkers that are not necessarily in the basketball industry. And that is a massive advantage for myself and for you because no one is doing this. And I also said last week, it's about downloading the best software into your brain. It's no different than getting the best engine for your car and updating it, the best, updating your Instagram. You need to be updating. And a lot of people are running on very, very, very old programming. So the people that follow this are going to have a leg up. So this chapter, this is a very, very, very influential mentality book for me. So let's go to the book here. I circled this here. So chapter 3 is called Imagination, the First Key to Your Success Mechanism. A human being always acts and feels and performs in accordance with what he imagines to be true about himself and his environment. Let me read that again. A human being always acts and feels and performs in accordance with what he imagines to be true about himself and his environment. So that has massive implications to me if you think about that. What you imagine yourself to be true about yourself and the environment. That's a game changer if you really think about it in your imagination of how you come across as a basketball player or if you're a coach in a situation or an environment. What that tells me is that the messages and the things that you are downloading into your brain are really going to affect you. And that doesn't matter. It's not about how many reps and sets that you can get up as a basketball player. If your mentality is bad and your mental game is weak, you're not going to reach your full potential. So very, very important. And we talked about this last week. The last week's book was The Inner Game of Tennis. This is really interesting right here because a lot of you guys are traveling. You go on the planes or you're in the car and you're messing around, things like that. But take some time to do some visualization and imagination of how you want to play because, as it says in this book, mental pictures offer us an opportunity to, quote unquote, practice new traits and attitudes which otherwise we could not do. This is possible because, again, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between an actual experience and one that's vividly imagined. So think about that. Even 5 to 10 minutes before you go to sleep, think about, go through the motions. You're warming up, you're playing in front of college coaches. You're performing well, you're going through, you're knocking down threes. You're hitting your free throws, you're defending, you're engaged. According to science, your nervous system cannot tell the difference if you're practicing it or not. There are some studies too where there was 3 controlled test groups. One, they practiced their free throws. It was actually basketball. They practiced their free throws over and over and over physically. One group didn't practice at all, and one group visualized and practiced. And that was actually the group, I believe, that did better than all of them. They actually did the best. How imagination practice won a chess championship. Reader's Digest. Here it says, let's get to this one quote. So when Phillips won this big chess match, he told Reader's Digest that it was very much like a boxer conditioning himself for a fight. He retired to the country, cut out the bad habits that he had and did calisthenics. For 3 months, he played chess only in his mind, building up steam for the moment when he would meet the champion. So anybody on here, I don't know if I don't know if this is ever being talked about, but it's actually a really, really good thing that you guys can do and just test it out. I remember I used to do this when I was a freshman playing basketball. I would just 5 to 10 minutes before the game. One of the better years I ever had playing basketball. I would mentally and visually go through what I needed to do. You don't want to just go and work. You want to take breaks and really analyze and think about your plan and what your game is. And we talked about game plan too last weekend, and we'll continue to do that. So I'm glad to see new people on here. But yeah, psycho-cybernetics. Let's find one more good thing for the viewers out there. And yeah, and then I'll go to another book, and then we'll close this thing out. Just testing out which time to work best. Let's read this right here for you. And we talked. This would be a parallel to intergame tennis. Oh, this is intergame of tennis exactly. Right here. Yeah, Ricky Logan, June 22nd through the 24th is in San Diego. Okay, as stated earlier, this new concept does not mean that you are a machine, but that your physical brain and body functions as a machine which you operate. So that was the self 1 and self 2. This automatic creative mechanism within you can operate in only one way. It must have a target to shoot at. You must first clearly see a thing in your mind before you can do it. We also used to say, if you can't say it, you can't do it. If you can't say it, you can't do it. When you do see a thing clearly in your mind, your creative success mechanism within you takes over and does a job much better than you could do it by conscious effort or willpower. So I'm just going to throw this book away. So when you listen to the top speakers and you read the best books and you do that, after a while, I'm telling you, they all are talking about the same shit. It's all the same thing. That's the beauty of this. Let's pick up another one. This is called The Dip. It's by Seth Godin. I recommend reading Seth Godin. Absolutely. A little book that teaches you when to quit and when to stick. Sometimes it's better to quit something and move on. Quit the wrong stuff, stick with the right stuff. That could also be quit trying to be a player that you're not. Start doing a player that you are and double down on your strengths. For those of you that are just joining here, it's an Ask Me Anything. You guys can ask anything that you want on this channel at any time. Quit the wrong stuff, stick with the right stuff. Have the guts to do one or the other. How you doing, Aces basketball? So the dip is basically about how hard it is to become one of the top, to get into the 1%. And once you get there, the extreme advantages that you have by passing the dip. Bless you from Ecuador, Rio Bamba. To my team of basketball, please thank you so much. Hey, how are you? Greetings. Greetings. Thank you. The reason number one matters. Let's go find something really good in here. Okay, this is good for you basketball players out there. Okay, this is about I want people in the audience and these people that will come on here. I want people with drive that want to be in the top 1% in whatever they do. The biggest mistake they made in school, this is from Seth Godin, the dip. Just about everything you learn in school about life is wrong, but the wrongest thing might very well be this. Being well-rounded is the secret to success. Now, you can disagree with this or not, but this is going to be controversial. When you came home from school with 2 A's, a B+, and 3 B's, you were doing just fine. Imagine the poor kid who had an A+ and 4 C's. Boy, was he in trouble. Fast forward a few decades from those school days and think about the decisions you make today about which doctor to pick, which restaurant to visit, or which accountant to hire. How often do you look for someone who is actually quite good at the things you don't need her to do? How often do you hope that your accountant is a safe driver and a decent golfer? Yo. In a free market, we reward the exceptional. In school, we tell kids that once something gets too hard, move on and focus on the next thing. The low-hanging fruit is there to be taken. No sense wasting time climbing the tree from a test-taking book in school. Skim through the questions and answer the easiest ones first, skipping ones you don't know immediately. Bad advice. Superstars can't skip the ones they don't know. In fact, the people who are the best in the world specialize, it's a key word, you specialize on the basketball court, at getting really good at the questions they don't know. The people who skip the hard questions are in the majority, but they are not in demand. So I think that's something that you guys can take with you. What are the hard questions that you're not answering right now about what you're doing and skipping, just like everybody else? You want things to be hard because once you pass the dip, that's what the book's about. Once you pass the dip and you make it easy for yourself, then there's not going to be much competition to get it because it is hard. Shout out. I love the feedback. Thank you. So that's shout out Max to Real. So I'm going to keep going on that. Many organizations make sure they've dotted all of their I's. They have customer service. They have a receptionist, a convenient location, a brochure, and on and on. And all of it is mediocre. More often than not, prospects choose someone else, their competition. Those competitors can't perform in some areas, but they're exceptional, ones that matter. You know, I fall trapped to this all the time because in a way, you know, my strength became my weakness because when I first started coaching teams, I was like, I'm going to win in every single way. I'm going to have better X's and O's. I'm going to have better uniforms. I'm going to have, everything is going to be better. And you just can't address all of it. You got to be good at a few good things, and be exceptional about it. So, you know, you have to quit something. Something's got to give. Almost everything in life worth doing is controlled by the dip. At the beginning, when you first start something, it's fun. You could be taking up golf or acupuncture, piloting a plane, or doing chemistry. It doesn't matter. It's interesting, and you get plenty of good feedback from the people around you. So that's interesting. Anytime you do something new, there always is this initial jolt of, you know, you get excited about. Think about someone in the gym in January after they made a New Year's resolution. You know, it's exciting. You're in the gym and you're January. You're gonna have this new lifestyle, and you know, that'll last a couple weeks. So that's the start of the process. Okay, but that's still good, you know. But then over the next few days and weeks, the rapid learning you experience keeps going. Whatever your new thing is, it's easy to stay engaged in it. Okay, that keeps going, and then the dip happens. The dip is the long slog between starting and mastery. A long slog that's actually a shortcut because it gets you where you want to go faster than any other path. So basically, if you get past that dip, life is a lot easier. The dip is a combination of bureaucracy and busy work you must deal with in order to get certified in scuba diving. The dip is the difference between the easy beginner technique and the more useful expert approach in skiing or fashion design. So anything you take up something, you get a lot of new people at the front, but as you keep going and you keep being consistent in business or in basketball or anything, you keep coming to the practices, people start to fall off and fall off and fall off. And the dip is the long stretch between beginner's luck and real accomplishment. The dip is the set of artificial screens set up to keep people like you out. If you took organic chemistry in college, you've experienced a dip. Academia doesn't want too many unmotivated people to attend medical school, so they set up a screen. Organic chemistry is the killer class, the screen that separates the doctor from the psychologist. If you can't handle organic chemistry, well, then you can't go to med school. At the beginning, when you announce that you're pre-med, you get all sorts of positive feedback and support. Your grandmother can't believe her good fortune, but soon the incredible grind of organic chemistry kicks in. Again, the reality instead of the fantasy. You know, people, a lot of times, you see these with big corporations, they bring these big headlines out, and the headline gives a jolt of adrenaline. And then it's like, well, now we have to actually do it. At trade shows, you see dozens of companies trying to break into an industry. They've invested time and money to build a product, to create marketing organization and rent booth space, all in an attempt to break into a lucrative market. But a year later, most of them are not there. They're gone, unable to get through the dip. The same thing happens to people who dream of the untold riches and power that accrue to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You guys ever heard this? Everybody wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. Who wouldn't want to live like that modern day royalty? Of course, if you look at the resume of a typical CEO, you'll see that he endured a 25-year dip, 25-year dip before landing the job. For a quarter of a century, you need to suck it up, keep his head down, do what he was told. He needed to hit his numbers, work long hours, and everyone else, and kiss up to the boss of the moment. Day in and day out, year after year, it's easy to be a CEO. What's hard is getting there. How does that relate to basketball? It's easy to be D1. It's actually not. But how hard is it to get there? There's a huge dip along the way. If it was easy, there'd be too many people vying for the job. And the CEOs couldn't get paid as much, could they? Scarcity, as we've seen, is the secret to value. If there wasn't a dip, there'd be no scarcity. So love the dip. Love that long, boring process. Learn to love that. Important note, successful people don't just ride out the dip. They don't just buckle down and survive it. No, they lean into it. That's what I just said. They love this part. This is the separator. This is the one where you're getting up at 6 a.m. every morning for years and years and years to work on your game. So they love this part. They don't survive it. So they thrive in the dip. Just because you know you're in the dip doesn't mean you have to happily live with it. Dips don't last quite as long when you whittle at them. And, I'll bring out one of my other favorite books I haven't seen read in a long time. It's called Mastery. I forgot who the author is, but he talks about the best love to practice. That's what they love, the practice in the monotony of the drills. And that's a really good lesson right there. I really enjoy that. And just a shout out to all of you that are, it's a tendency on social media to show peak experience and things like that. But the real value is day to day. And I'll leave you up with this quote, and we'll end it here. This is a great quote that you can think about tonight and tomorrow. And remember to visualize your success tonight before you go to bed and experiment with it, because your nervous system doesn't know if you're actually practicing or not in the real world. The mind is a funny thing, step by step. So we are coming up on live period here, back to basketball. And a lot of opportunities are going to come out, and we're going to see who's real and who's fake. Yes, sir, Max. Max, what are you working on in your game right now? What are your top 2 strengths, and what are your top 2? What's your top 2 things that you're really good at, and 2 things that you're not so good at? And I'll wait for your question. Charlie Munger, advice on getting ahead. Spend each day trying to be a little wiser than you were when you woke up. Discharge your duties faithfully and well. Step by step, you get ahead, but not necessarily in fast spurts. But you build discipline by preparing for fast spurts. Slug it out 1 inch at a time, day by day, day in and day out. And at the end of the day, if you live long enough, most people get what they deserve. So this is me signing off. The format of the show, we go once a week. We talk about AAU basketball tournaments, camps, events. You can watch the show on Instagram Live or YouTube Live. YouTube.com/IndiHoops is where we have a YouTube channel where we have 257 subscribers. My clear-cut goal is to get to 1,000. I would like to be there by next year. Indy World 3 final is June 20th through July 1st. Go to IndyLockers.com if you're a player in 8th grade. Get your register for your locker. And if you are a coach or a scout or you want to help out, go there as well. Register for your free scout profile. Start reviewing players. Rankings come out tomorrow. Strengths are being a throwback big, and the other one is being a defensive player. Yeah, I think you are a great defensive player, and I do think you've got good footwork in the post. I would hopefully that you're developing a nice little 15-foot mid-range. And one thing I would say is you're a bigger guy, set more screens, because the screener is the most open one. So, set down screens to get into that post, demand for the ball, and vary your speeds when you catch it. One time go fast, the other time go slow, and use a variety of ball fakes. But set up screens, set down screens, ball screens. Always be active in movement, because one of the things that we're ranking is motor, and how you can just keep going and going, and when someone misses the ball, the best rebounders, they go for every single ball. So that's my practical advice. Even if Dennis Rodman used to go for rebounds, even if he didn't think he could get it, always go for that ball. And be hungry for it. So signing off, West Regional this weekend. We'll see you soon. Save that. Let's get off here.